I kissed someone who wasn't my husband, and at 64 years old, that one moment made me question everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and who I really am. My name is Margaret, and for 42 years, I've been married to Robert. We live in a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, in the same house where we raised our 3 children. Our life has always been predictable, comfortable, safe. Robert is a retired accountant, methodical and dependable. I was a high school English teacher until last year. We have Sunday dinners with the kids. We play bridge on Thursdays. We take our annual trip to the coast every summer. Everything in its place. Everyone knowing their role. Until 3 months ago, when I met Daniel at a community art class, and everything I thought was solid began to crack. Before I continue, if you're enjoying this story and want to hear more real-life confessions like this one, please click that subscribe button. We're working toward reaching 5,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. Just one click on that red button, and you're part of this community. It started innocently enough. I'd always wanted to learn watercolor painting, something I'd put off for decades while raising children and building a career. After retirement, I finally had time. The class met twice a week at the community center, and that's where I first saw him. Daniel was probably in his late 50s, with silver hair that curled slightly at his collar, and these incredibly expressive hands that moved with such confidence over the canvas. He sat across from me that first day, and when our eyes met, he smiled. Not a polite smile, but one that seemed to see something in me I'd forgotten was there. The first few weeks, we barely spoke beyond pleasantries. But art has a way of revealing people, doesn't it? In our paintings, in the colors we choose, in the subjects that call to us. I noticed Daniel always painted water, rivers and oceans and rain, always movement. My paintings were gardens, still and contained and carefully arranged. One evening, as we cleaned our brushes, he looked at my latest piece and said, "Your gardens are beautiful, but they look lonely. Where are the people?" The question bothered me for days. Robert noticed I was coming home later from class, but he didn't seem concerned. "It's good you have a hobby," he'd say, barely looking up from his tablet. That was Robert, supportive in the most distant way possible. When had we stopped really talking? When had I stopped being a person to him and become simply the person who was there? If this story is resonating with you, help us reach 5,000 subscribers by clicking that subscribe button below. Your subscription makes a real difference and lets us keep sharing these honest, raw stories. Daniel and I started having coffee after class. Just coffee, just talking. He told me about his divorce 5 years ago, how he'd realized he'd spent 30 years living someone else's idea of his life. He'd been a corporate lawyer but always wanted to write. Now he was working on a novel and teaching part-time at a community college. "Life's too short to keep pretending," he said, and something in his voice made my chest tighten. I told him things I hadn't told anyone. How invisible I felt sometimes. How Robert and I had become roommates who shared a last name. How our last real conversation that wasn't about bills or grandchildren was months, maybe years ago. How I sometimes looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Daniel listened in a way I'd forgotten people could listen, leaning forward, asking questions, making me feel like my words mattered. "Margaret," he said one evening, "when was the last time you did something just because it made you feel alive?" I couldn't answer him. I couldn't remember. The coffee meetings became walks in the park. The walks became longer, more frequent. We talked about books and dreams and all the things we'd given up. He told me I was brilliant, that my insights about literature made him see things differently. When was the last time Robert had complimented anything beyond my cooking? Daniel made me laugh until tears rolled down my cheeks. He challenged my opinions. He remembered details from conversations weeks earlier. With him, I wasn't just somebody's wife or mother or grandmother. I was Margaret, fully myself, seen and valued. Help us grow this channel by clicking subscribe. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, And each one of you joining means we can keep bringing you these real, unfiltered stories. Just hit that red button. I knew it was becoming dangerous. I knew I was crossing lines even before anything physical happened. The emotional intimacy felt like a betrayal all on its own. I'd catch myself checking my phone constantly, hoping for his texts. I'd spend extra time choosing what to wear to art class. I'd lie awake at night thinking about things he'd said, the way he'd looked at me, imagining scenarios I had no business imagining. One night, Robert rolled over in bed and put his hand on my shoulder. The most physical contact we'd had in months. "You seem different lately," he said. "Happier, maybe. The art class is really good for you." The guilt nearly crushed me. Here was my husband, noticing something positive, and it had nothing to do with him. I mumbled something about enjoying the creative outlet and turned away, my heart pounding. The next class, Daniel asked if I wanted to see his studio. He lived in a loft apartment downtown, the kind of place I'd always fantasized about, all exposed brick and tall windows with city views. "Just to see where I work," he said. "I'd love your opinion on something I'm writing." We both knew it was more than that. We both knew what we were really asking and answering. I should have said no. I should have ended it right there. But I didn't. His studio was beautiful, filled with canvases and books and the smell of oil paint and coffee. He showed me his manuscript, and I sat on his worn leather couch reading pages while he made tea. His writing was raw and honest, full of longing and questions about authenticity and second chances. When I looked up, he was watching me with such intensity that I couldn't breathe. "What?" I whispered. "You're crying," he said, moving closer. I hadn't realized. I touched my cheek and felt the wetness. "You're writing," I said, but we both knew that wasn't the whole truth. I was crying for myself, for all the years of settling, for the version of me I'd buried under responsibility and routine. If you're invested in what happens next, please subscribe to our channel. We're building a community of 5,000 people who aren't afraid of real, complicated stories. Click that subscribe button and join us. Daniel sat beside me on the couch, close enough that our shoulders touched. "Margaret," he said softly, "I need to tell you something, and then you can leave if you want, and we'll pretend this conversation never happened." He took a breath. "I haven't felt this connected to someone in years, maybe ever. You make me want to be brave again. You make me remember why life is worth living." My heart was thundering so loud I was sure he could hear it. "Daniel, I'm married. I've been married for 42 years. "I know," he said, "and I would never ask you to change that if you're happy. But are you? When was the last time your husband looked at you the way I'm looking at you right now?" I couldn't answer because the truth was too painful. Robert hadn't looked at me with desire or deep affection in years. We'd become comfortable, familiar, safe. But we'd also become strangers living parallel lives under the same roof. "I should go," I said, but I didn't move. Daniel's hand found mine, his fingers threading through mine with such tenderness that I felt something break open inside me. "Don't go," he whispered. "Not yet." And then he kissed me. Not aggressively, not like he was taking something. It was a question, gentle and searching, asking if this was what I wanted too. And God help me, I kissed him back. At 64 years old, with gray in my hair and laugh lines around my eyes and a husband waiting at home, I kissed this man like I was drowning, and he was air. That kiss lasted maybe 30 seconds, but it contained decades. It contained every moment I'd felt unseen, every time I'd swallowed my desires to keep peace, every dream I'd filed away under too late and not practical. It was everything I'd denied myself, everything I'd convinced myself I didn't need. And it was also a betrayal, a lie, a violation of every vow I'd made standing in that church in 1983, in a white dress my mother had sewn. When we pulled apart, I was shaking. "I have to go," I said, and this time I meant it. I grabbed my purse and practically ran to the door. "Margaret, wait," Daniel called, but I was already in the hallway, already trying to escape what I'd just done. Before you hear what happened next, take a second to subscribe if you haven't already. We're working toward 5,000 subscribers, and your click really matters. Join this community and be part of something real. I drove home in a daze, my lips still tingling, my mind racing with horror and exhilaration in equal measure. What had I done? What did it mean? How could one kiss shake the foundation of an entire life? I pulled into our driveway and sat in the car for 10 minutes, trying to compose myself, trying to become the Margaret that Robert expected to walk through that door. Inside, Robert was watching a documentary about World War II, his usual evening routine. "Hey, hun," he said without looking away from the screen. "There's leftover chicken in the fridge if you're hungry." That was it. No questions about where I'd been or why I was late. No noticing that I was flushed and breathless and fundamentally altered. I went to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. Did I look different? Could guilt show on your face like a stain? That night, lying next to Robert, I felt like the worst person alive. He was snoring softly, completely trusting, completely unaware that his wife had kissed another man just hours earlier. I thought about waking him, confessing everything, begging forgiveness. But what would I even say? That I'd been emotionally unfaithful for weeks? That I'd developed feelings for someone who made me feel alive in ways I'd forgotten were possible? That one kiss had shown me how much I'd been settling? I didn't sleep that night. I replayed that kiss over and over, mixed with scenes from my marriage, from my whole life. Robert and me at our wedding, so young and full of hope. Holding our first baby. Moving into this house. All the accumulated moments of a shared life, the good and the bad and the mostly mundane. Against all of that, one kiss. How could something so brief carry so much weight? The next morning, I called in sick to art class, and the class after that. Daniel texted me, first casually, then with concern. "Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Please talk to me." I didn't respond. I threw myself into being the perfect wife, cooking Robert's favorite meals, suggesting we watch movies together, trying to resurrect something I wasn't sure had ever really existed. Help us hit 5,000 subscribers by clicking that button below. This story gets even more intense, and your subscription keeps us bringing you this kind of honest content. Robert seemed pleased but slightly confused by my sudden attention. "What's gotten into you?" he asked one evening, smiling. "Not that I'm complaining." "I just think we should spend more time together," I said, and I meant it. I was trying to find my way back, to remember why I'd married him, to convince myself that what I had was enough. But it wasn't working. The more time I spent with Robert, the more I felt the absence of what I'd found with Daniel. Robert and I could sit together, but we weren't really together. We talked about practical things, about the grandkids, about whether we needed a new water heater. We didn't talk about ideas or feelings or dreams. When I tried to go deeper, asking him if he was happy, what he wanted from the rest of our lives, he'd shrug and say, "I'm fine. We're fine." Why are you asking these weird questions? Was I expecting too much? Was what I had with Daniel just an illusion? The excitement of something new and forbidden? Maybe all marriages settled into this comfortable numbness eventually. Maybe asking for passion and deep connection at 64 was absurd. But then I'd remember how Daniel had listened to me. Really listened. How he'd asked about my thoughts on Tolstoy and what I'd dreamed about when I was young. How he'd seen me not just as Robert's wife, but as a person with depth and complexity and value. How that kiss had awakened something in me I thought was dead. 3 weeks after that kiss, Daniel showed up at my door. Robert was at his weekly golf game, and I was in the garden, pruning roses. "Margaret," Daniel said, and the sound of his voice made my hands shake so badly I dropped my shears. "We need to talk. You can't just disappear like that." "You shouldn't be here," I said, looking around frantically to see if any neighbors were watching. "I know, but I can't stop thinking about you, about us, about that kiss." "There is no us," I said, but even I didn't believe it. "Then why did you kiss me back?" he asked gently. "Why did you look at me the way you did?" If you're wondering what I said to him, subscribe to our channel now. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and your support means we can keep sharing stories like this one. Hit that red subscribe button. I couldn't answer him because any honest answer would be an admission of everything I was trying to deny. "I'm married, Daniel. I love my husband." Did I? Did I still? Or was I just attached to the history, to the idea of him, to the safety of what was known? "Do you?" Daniel asked, echoing my own doubts. "Or do you love the life you've built? Because those are different things." "You need to leave," I said, my voice breaking. "Please." He looked at me for a long moment, his expression full of sadness and understanding. "Okay," he said finally. "But Margaret, life is short. We both know that at our age. And spending whatever time we have left being less than fully alive, pretending we don't feel things we feel, that's its own kind of death." He left, and I stood there in my garden, surrounded by roses I'd carefully cultivated and controlled. And I sobbed. Great. Heaving sobs that came from somewhere so deep I didn't know it existed. That night, Robert came home cheerful from golf and suggested we have dinner at our favorite Italian place. Over breadsticks and pasta, he talked about his golf score, and his friend Tom's upcoming surgery and plans for our summer trip to the coast, the same trip we'd taken every year for 2 decades. Same restaurant, same hotel, same walks on the same beach. Safe, predictable, unchanging. "Robert," I interrupted, "are you happy?" He looked up, surprised. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one. Are you happy with our life? With us?" He frowned, clearly uncomfortable. "Margaret, what's this about? Did something happen?" "Just answer the question." He sighed. "I'm content. We have a good life. The kids are doing well. We're healthy. We have enough money. What more do you want? What about passion? What about feeling truly connected? When was the last time we had a real conversation about something that matters? We're talking right now, aren't we?" He looked genuinely confused, and that made it worse somehow. He didn't even recognize what was missing because for him, nothing was missing. Don't miss what happens next. Click subscribe and help us reach 5,000 subscribers. This community is built on real stories from real people, and you're part of it. Robert, do you still love me? Not just as your wife, not just as the mother of your children, but me, as a person? He reached across the table and patted my hand, an absent gesture, reflexive. Of course I do. What's gotten into you lately? Is this some kind of midlife crisis? He laughed. Although, I guess at our age, it's more like a late life crisis. He was making jokes while I was drowning. That's when I realized something terrible. Robert didn't know me. Maybe he never had. We'd built a life together, raised children, accumulated possessions and memories and traditions. But had we ever truly seen each other? Or had we just been playing the roles we were supposed to play? Husband and wife, father and mother, respectable middle-class couple. I started going back to art class. I told myself I could handle it, that Daniel and I could just be friends, that I could have that connection without crossing any more lines. For a few weeks, it almost worked. We painted and talked and carefully avoided being alone together. But the tension was always there, humming beneath every interaction, every accidental brush of hands, every meaningful glance. Then my daughter Jennifer called with news. She was getting divorced. Her husband had been having an affair for 2 years. She was devastated, broken, asking me how people could do that, how someone could betray their spouse, destroy their family, be so selfish and cruel. I held the phone and listened to her pain and felt like the world's biggest hypocrite. "Mom, promise me you and Dad never have to go through this," she sobbed. "You two are like my proof that real lasting love exists. I don't know what I'd do if I found out that was a lie too." I promised her. What else could I do? But as I said the words, I felt them lodge in my throat like stones. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the conclusion of this story. We're working toward 5,000 subscribers, and we need you to be part of this community. Click that subscribe button now. That conversation should have ended everything with Daniel, should have sent me running back to my marriage with renewed commitment. Instead, it made everything more complicated. I started questioning my entire life. Had my marriage been real, or had Robert and I been going through motions for decades? Was I about to make the same mistake Jennifer's husband had made, or was I finally waking up to a truth I'd been avoiding? Was it betrayal to want more, or was it betrayal to myself to settle for less? 2 weeks ago, Daniel and I were the last ones to leave art class. As we walked to our cars, he said, "I got an offer to teach at a university in Boston. Full-time position, good pay. I'm thinking about taking it." My heart dropped to my feet. Boston? That's across the country. I know, but maybe that's what needs to happen. Because Margaret, being around you and not being with you is torture. And I won't be the person who breaks up your marriage. So maybe the best thing is for me to leave. "Don't," I said, the word escaping before I could stop it. "Don't go." "Then what are we doing here?" he asked, frustrated. "We're not friends, Margaret. We haven't been for a long time. Every time I see you, I want more, and I think you do too. But you're married, and you're committed to staying married. So where does that leave us?" I didn't have an answer. I still don't. Last week, Robert and I celebrated our 42nd anniversary. Our children threw us a party, surrounded us with love and laughter and speeches about what an inspiration we are, what a model of lasting commitment. Robert gave me a necklace. I gave him a watch. We cut a cake. Everyone toasted to many more years together. And all I could think about was Daniel, and that kiss, and the question I still can't answer. Is staying in a comfortable but passionless marriage the right thing to do? Or is it just the safe thing? Is loyalty about keeping promises no matter what? Or is there a point where you owe yourself something too? Daniel leaves for Boston in a month. He's asked me to meet him one more time before he goes, to say goodbye properly. Robert is going on a fishing trip with his brother that same weekend. I could go. No one would know. I could have one conversation, one moment of honesty, one chance to say all the things I've been holding back. Or I could do what's expected, what's right, what's safe. I could let Daniel go, recommit to my marriage, and spend the rest of my life wondering what if. If you've been following this journey with me, show your support by subscribing. We're so close to hitting 5,000 subscribers, and every single one matters. Click that red button and join us. Last night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror for a long time, studying my face. 64 years old, and I still don't know who I am or what I want. When did it become wrong to want passion? When did it become selfish to want to be seen and known and desired? When did settling become synonymous with maturity? My phone is on the counter, and Daniel's last text is still there. Meet me, please, just to talk, just to say goodbye the right way. My wedding ring is on my finger. 42 years of weight and promise and history. My heart is torn exactly in half, and I have 4 days to decide. Robert is downstairs watching television, completely unaware that our entire marriage might hinge on what I choose to do this weekend. My children think their parents are relationship goals, unshakable proof that love lasts. Daniel is in his loft apartment, Probably painting water again. All that movement and freedom I've never allowed myself. And I'm standing here, 64 years old, with 3,000 words trying to explain how one kiss changed everything. And I still haven't told you the most important part. I don't know what to do. Should I meet Daniel? Should I give myself permission to explore these feelings, even if it destroys everything? Is there a way to honor what I feel for him without betraying Robert? Or have I already betrayed Robert? Just by feeling these things, by wanting them. Is it ever too late to choose yourself? Or is there a point where you've made your choices and you have to live with them, even if they're slowly suffocating you? Before I finish, I need to ask you one more time. If you've connected with this story, if you see yourself in it, if it's made you think or feel something real, please subscribe to our channel. We're building toward 5,000 subscribers, and your click makes that possible. Hit that subscribe button and be part of this community where real stories matter. I wish I could tell you I've made a decision. I wish I could give you a neat resolution where everything works out, or where I've learned some clear lesson. But life isn't that simple. Especially not at 64, when you realize you might have wasted decades being less than fully alive. All I know is that in 4 days, Robert leaves for his fishing trip. In 4 days, I have to decide whether to meet Daniel one last time. In 4 days, I have to choose between safety and possibility, between loyalty and authenticity, between the woman I've been and the woman I might still become. So I'm asking you, whoever you are watching this, what would you do in my place? Would you go? Would you stay? Is there a right answer here? Or am I facing one of those impossible situations where someone gets hurt no matter what I choose? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me your stories. Have you ever been where I am? How did you decide? What did you choose? And do you regret it? Because right now, with 4 days left and my heart breaking in 2 different directions, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. And that terrifies me more than anything.